Welcome to They Cast from the Coast.
Welcome, everybody, to They Cast from the Coast, the horror-centric podcast with a little action and sci-fi thrown in for flavor. My name is Adam Miles, and with me, as always, we have Tim. I kick ass for the Lord Johnson. Tim! How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. That was good.
He works on that all week, man. He works on that all week. What can I say next week?
He's got a little notebook, ideas for the podcast and titles for Tim, and he scribbles them down. No, that was good. I like that. Kicks ass for the Lord.
Tim, I kick ass for the Lord Johnson, in honor of one of my favorite, horror comedy movies, which we'll eventually do a podcast based on. Brain Dead or Dead Alive, Peter Jackson. It's all good.
It's all good.
Excellent, man. Doing good, you say? You're doing good.
Yeah. Christmas was here, and Santa was very kind to my my boy and myself, and
Excellent.
Man. Yeah, it was good.
Excellent.
It was good.
Good stuff.
And before you move on, hello internet, hello.
Hello internet, hello. Moving on down the table, we have fellow horror fanatic, all-around good guy, and the man responsible for absolutely corrupting me with this kind of shit, David, my brother. What's up, buddy?
Hey, still recovering from Christmas. Man, oh man. Yeah. It's been one of those weeks, man. The holidays.
It has
good
been.
when they're here, but it's great. The holidays are great, but the flip side is just looking to get past them and looking to get back on track and back to reality and all that good stuff. But it was a good time, man. Like every year. So yeah, it's all good.
Cool, man. Cool. Excellent. So
looking forward to tonight's show.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to tonight's show as well. It's going to be fantastic. And so for everybody out there in the interwebs who might be listening to us on your iPhones and on your Android phones or YouTube, we got some changes coming up in the new year. We're going to be working on some stuff for you. So next week's podcast is going to be slightly delayed. We're going to push it out just because we're going to be working on setting up some technical stuff in the background, all kinds of things going on. But in the interim, we're going to make this a very special podcast for everybody to kind of tide you over until you hear from us again. So you guys say the Christmas season has treated you good. Tim.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about the Christmas. How'd Anthony do, buddy? Tell us tell us from a horror fanatic's point of view how Christmas was for you this year.
It was really good. He got a bunch of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite thing that he received was a Lego Millennium Falcon, which was an absolute pleasure to put together, and I'm saying that very sarcastically. It took me about 12 hours.
Oh, man.
He helped me for the first little bit, and then it was all my project.
It was like, Dad, this is awesome. 1 hour later, Dad, let me know when it's done.
Yeah, no, but it was a lot of fun, and it was one of those toys that I wish I had as a kid. But I didn't have it as a kid, but I have it as an adult.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Besides that, it was just he got a bunch of games, and I got a bunch of movies. Just adding to the collection, and just normal Christmas stuff, nothing too crazy.
Anything horror related?
No, not this year, I guess.
It's all good.
I didn't. I watched the movie that we're going to discuss tonight.
Yes.
That was the only real horror thing that I did. I went to go see Rogue One again, and then Christmas came, and then I was doing all the family, visiting extended family all over Halifax and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So I didn't really ask for any horror stuff. I mean, I wanted some, but
Yeah.
Horror's all year. I'll pick up horror stuff, in February.
All friggin' year, man. All friggin' year.
Yeah.
But there was some sci-fi thrown in there. Anthony got the Millennium Falcon. That's awesome.
Oh, man. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Oh, man. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. It was good times.
Dave.
Good times.
Dave, buddy.
Hey.
Anything horror-related for your Christmas?
Oh, this year was actually a really good year for horror-related stuff. I mean, the kids got all their normal stuff, the dolls and the Shopkins and everything else. But good old dad got a bit of a horror haul this year. So, where to start? Let me see. The last podcast or the podcast before, remember I said I had my eye on this Friday the 13th Jason Voorhees figure? Because I didn't have a Jason figure in my collection. Well, nice. I ended up getting that for my wife. She got that for me for Christmas. It's from Friday the 13th Part 3. So I was quite excited to get that. And most of my stuff, I know it's sacrilegious to some. I usually take my figures out of the package and proudly display them on the shelf. But this one I'm thinking about keeping it in the package just because the packaging itself is so cool. It's like a replica of the Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D movie box. And it's, what do they call it? Lenticular 3D. So like when you move it from side to side, it's like 3D. So like the image moves, and it's the original image from Friday the 13th Part 3 with Jason and the knife coming out of the shower curtain. Yeah, because of course Friday the 13th was Part 3 was originally in 3D when it was in theaters, so it's kind of cool. So I'm thinking about keeping it in the box and showing it off that way with the box and everything. So
very cool.
Yeah, so that's cool. Let me see, what else did I get? Oh, the other really cool horror related thing that I got for Christmas was a replica of the Hellraiser puzzle box.
Nice.
So that was awesome. That's something I've had my eye on for years, but it just never ever bothered to pick one up. I mean, you can't walk into a store and get them. Typically, they're custom made, or you can only buy them online. But I guess my wife had listened to me bitch about it enough, and how much I wanted one, and finally she decided to give me one for Christmas. So that was awesome. It was I was shocked. Had no idea, and opened it up, and it was pretty awesome. So
that is pretty cool, man. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, the three big for me, because the kids always got to get me something, and then Mick always buys me something. We say every year we're never going to buy each other something, and we always end up buying each other something. So the kids this year, Tabitha bought me a Nerf rival gun. This is one of those new Nerf guns that
I know
shoot the round sponge balls.
Yeah.
And it's because we always get into Nerf gun battles in the house, but the kids decided it was time that I got my own gun because they were tired of me using theirs. Well, they made the wrong decision because this thing hurts when you hit with the people with it. I've been absolutely shooting people with this thing left, right, and center, and man, it shoots far and fast. Let me put it that way. So that was pretty cool. My son took it upon himself to get me a mobile VR headset. So one of the ones that you put your phone in, and you get like the VR apps, and you put it on your head, and it's it uses the gyro in your phone and stuff. So it's been pretty cool. I've been actually playing some horror games, like some escape the room type of haunted house games. It's been pretty cool. So that's pretty horror related.
Nice. And that's awesome.
And I think the wife outdid herself this year because she tells me that I'm absolutely one of the most terrible people to buy for, because I just don't want much. Like, give me a video game or some movies or something stupid simple. You know what I mean? Well, this year she decided to really put some last minute. She couldn't figure out what to do, and she was walking through the mall, and she seen this out of the corner of her eye, and she went and just bought it. She bought me a life-size Chucky replica from the Bride of Chucky. So I've got a Chucky doll here now. From it's the one where he's all mangled up and stitched together. So that's pretty cool. So that was my Christmas. I got Chucky, a gun, and a mobile VR headset for some horror, which is excellent. Well, that's all good. So, moving on a little bit, let's talk about news here for a second, guys, and some stuff that might have come up over the last week or so since our last podcast. The Friday the 13th beta. Let's start off with that. Did you guys get a chance to play it?
Yes, I did.
No.
Okay. So, Tim, it's unfortunate. It sucks that you didn't get a chance to play it.
But trust me, I watched a lot of gameplay, so I might as well say I played it.
Yes.
But I watched the gameplay.
So I played probably about, by the time it was done, I probably played about 4 matches total. And that was because the first day that the beta codes came out, I jumped online and I started playing it right away. However, it was just ridiculous trying to get like through the lobbies and try to get into the games, and it literally just kind of threw me off, and I didn't enjoy my experience on it at all. Yes, it was a beta. Yes, it was buggy, but I just, like, you're sitting there for like 15 to 20 minutes waiting for a game to load and just to become part of anything. But when I did get in, thoroughly enjoyable, had a lot of fun, found some bugs. You know, it was a good experience all in all. Come around a couple of days later when they extended the beta, I got a chance to jump in. They had applied a couple of updates, and I played it, and it was a lot smoother. Got in very much so quicker. Only got a chance to play 2 more matches. All in all, this game has potential. Very much so has potential.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm dying to see this game full out when I get it on the Xbox One and play the shit clear out of it. That's it. Yeah. Can't wait for it.
I agree. And I'm not, out of all the horror icons, Jason he's in my top 3, but he's not my number 1. And this game was like, it kind of pushed him up the ranks a little bit, because like, it's just, I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, he's a horror icon, but the thing that makes him work better than, say, Michael Myers or Freddy is that each, you know, Friday the 13th has a different version of Jason. So you got all these different looks, and then, like, it's just such a simple story of a monster man killing teenagers in the woods. Like, that sounds like an amazing game, and you know, it was an amazing concept, and you know, I was going to play the beta, but I've had bad experience with beta in the past, so I'm just going to wait, like you said, till, you know, it comes out full version, play it on the console, play it on the PC, whatever. But I watched other people on YouTube with the gameplay. The game looks amazing. The game looks amazing. The renders of, like, you know, the woods and, you know, the character renders, it looks a lot of fun.
It does. Dave, you played it.
So I played 3 or 4 matches. Again, like you said, Adam, I mean, it's a beta. It was certainly a little rough around the edges, but hats off to the guys. I think they did a really good job. They limit what you had access to, so they limited Jason that you had access to. So when I was in the game, you could only choose from Zombie Jason, Jason from Part 2, and Jason from Part 3. And I think you only had access to 2 or 3 campers? Can't remember.
Yeah, counselors.
But counselors. Yeah. So options were limited. It was only set at Higgins Haven. At least the matches that I played. I'm not sure if you got into a different server, if it gave you different options. But
that was the matches that was the only map that was available.
Yeah, it was the only one that I seen.
Okay.
Played, so
Gotcha. Yeah, it was the only one I had access to. Anyway, long story short, still a little rough around the edges, but thoroughly enjoyed what I got a chance to play. It was creepy. I was, one of the matches I was hiding under the bed, and Jason comes bashing in through the door with the axe, and just like the whole, it played out. Needless to say, I didn't make it out, but. Yeah, it was good. What else can I say about it? The controls on the keyboard, where it was a PC beta, I thought were awkward, so I went and grabbed my Xbox One controller, that in, and of course, if you have a Windows PC and you plug in your Xbox One controller, it's natively mapped. So when I relaunched Steam, it was already pre-mapped to the controller, launched the game, and it was like I was playing it on an Xbox. All the controls were all mapped. I hit the settings button, boom, there's a picture of the Xbox One controller with all the controls mapped, and it just made the gameplay so much better. A little bit easier, but I mean, the game itself, at least in the beta form, is extremely difficult. So it's going to be interesting to see what the full game looks like, what are the full options that we're going to have. And I guess I'm just excited to see how it's all going to play out. So,
oh yeah, totally excited for it. Can't wait.
Positive, and I think that's been the overall response from what I've read online is just overwhelmingly positive feedback from the beta. Everyone that played it or everyone that's seen it, it's good.
Well, it's definitely a good time for horror games too, because we talked about this one there the other week. I played the demo for Resident Evil 7. It's going to be amazing. We got Friday the 13th coming out. There's that other PC-based one that's very similar to Friday the 13th in concept. Remember, they were coming at the same time. What was it? Dead
by Daylight. No,
it was called like Last Year or something like this, wasn't it?
Last Year's another one, yeah. It's almost the exact same type of mechanics where you have the killer plus the X amount of, teens that online multiplayer. Yeah, I know what one you're talking about.
Yeah, but that one that you were just talking about there, Tim, Dead by Daylight. That one there, I mean, that one's out already, if I do believe. A lot of people are eating that one up, but they just came out with like an update where you can have it's like a Michael Myers map.
Yeah, it's Haddonfield. This is the street in Haddonfield, and everybody is Laurie, and you're Michael Myers, and it's pretty cool.
Nice.
That's pretty cool, but like I said, for a full game, they did a good job picking Jason Voorhees as the theme.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's going to be a good year anyway. 2017 is going to be really good for a lot of horror games. We got a lot more coming out, which is good. Moving on a little bit more into some other news. Let's have a moment. Today we had something that is bumming us all out really badly. Today we lost our princess, Carrie Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, let's face that for a second. The she suffered the massive heart attack. She was on the plane, and then the updates came out from Debbie Reynolds, her mother, saying that she was in stable condition and everything seemed to be all right. And there was literally memes all over the internet, hey, badass 2016 can't take this one. Well, I guess that was a little too soon, unfortunately, because she did succumb. And the world is saddened right now. And we thoughts and good vibrations go out to everybody at a dark time like this. But 2016 is almost over, and hopefully this year of infamy for the absolute amount of deaths, like notable deaths, is going to be gone, and that sucks. So, but that was probably the worst news. That was probably the worst news that one could get this week. That was for sure.
Yep.
Moving on, a little bit more movie news. Did you guys see the new picture of Pennywise from Stephen King's It? Well, there were two new pictures released.
Yeah, I did. The one where he's looking out the pipe.
Yeah, in the sewer.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so awesome.
I'm sorry, I'm stoked. There were people going, "This isn't Pennywise," and I'm like, "Oh, did you guys ever actually read the goddamn book?" all these people shitting themselves over the fact that this looks nothing like Pennywise. This is gonna suck. I ask you again, have you actually read the goddamn book, or are you simply going on the granted amazing performance by Tim Curry? But the best thing about the original It miniseries with Tim Curry's performance, but if he had actually, if the costume had actually looked the part according to the book, it would have looked more like the new one. It would have looked more like the new one. It was like Victorian era style, something old, centuries old. It would have been a hell of a lot creepier, and it probably would have set a whole different tone and a whole different bar. But as of right now, this is Pennywise from the book that we should have been given originally. The look and the feel of what it is.
See, his look is awesome. He looks creepy, but I'm curious as to what he will sound like. I'm hoping that the sound of his voice matches his look. That's the only part that I'm kind of concerned about. I'm kind of scared.
Well, I am in the same boat because, once again, conceptually, I'm fine with this. This is going to be good.
Yep.
How's it going to play out? I'm worried until I hear it. That's about it. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm nervous. I'm nervous because he looks amazing, and like you were saying earlier, Adam, he looks more in line with how Stephen King described him in the book, as opposed to what Tim Curry looked like. Now, I'm not shitting on Tim Curry's look or acting ability. He was the iconic Pennywise for years and years and years. But I always felt that that's not what Pennywise was supposed to look like anyway.
I felt that Tim Curry was Pennywise in action. That was
absolutely.
Pennywise. In all tone and seriousness, that was Pennywise. Close your eyes. That's Pennywise.
Yep.
But look and feel, I'm leaning towards this.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm leaning towards the new one. I'm leaning towards this one.
Yeah, me too. Because I always felt that Tim Curry's Pennywise looked like Rent-A-Clown for a children's party or something. You know what I mean? Clowns are creepy. Clowns are creepy no matter what. But I don't know. I like the kind of aged, vintage look of the new Pennywise, like this timeless. Well, I shouldn't say timeless. He does have like a Victorian vibe to him, but I like that he looks like he's old and ancient, and he's wearing the same outfit for like hundreds of years. I don't know. I dig it.
Well, I mean, if you go by what the books would basically tell you, he has awakened, and it's been a long time since he was last awake. He doesn't know what the world is truly like right now. So when he awakens, he is going to just simply assume that the last persona that he took on is still going to be effective. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. But I'm excited for it. I think it's good. The second picture that they released, it was kind of weird. It was like a blurry shot somebody had taken, a screenshot of something, and it showed him standing in what looked like a brown wheat field, and he's got a balloon in his hand. Did you see that one?
Yep.
That was good too.
Yeah.
I like it. Dave, you haven't said much. What do you think about it?
Well, personally, I'm a huge fan of the original novel It. Read it when I was much younger. I'm a big fan of the miniseries. Like a lot of people, the miniseries was constrained for its time. It allowed, to show the kinds of stuff that Stephen King had written about in the book on cable television at the time. So right off the bat, I mean, it was everything was constrained. His performance as Pennywise is iconic. There's no question. I'll always stand by that. That being said, let's talk about It 2017. It's not a remake. It is it's a different version. It's a different take on the source material. It's not a remake of the miniseries. It's somebody going back to the source material and retelling the story, interpret that source material. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And from everything that I've read about this, everything that I've seen so far about this, I think it's being the utmost love and respect, and withhold judgment until I see the final product. But everything I've seen so far, 2 thumbs up. I'm looking forward to it.
Agreed. One of the big things, I agree. Well, one of the big things I'll point out with that is just like what you were saying, David. When they went back to the source material, is what it looks like exactly that they did. There is going to be a lot in this re-envisioning that was entirely skipped with the miniseries. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like we mentioned this before. The leper character is going to be in it, you know, and just the way that they go about things is going to be quite a bit differently. So I am excited for it. So, in other news, we got a very special Christmas present this year. Everybody got a very special Christmas present. We got an insight into the new Alien movie from Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
Alien Covenant. Okay, so the question isn't have you seen the trailer? It's how many times have you seen the trailer, gentlemen?
Oh, a bunch.
I lost count, yes. Wow. Tim, what did you think?
I'm really excited, but I was also really excited for Prometheus
What?
from the trailers.
Are you going to shit on Prometheus?
No,
Okay, good.
yes, actually I am. You know what? I am going to shit on it because
Damn it.
I watched the extended version of Prometheus, and it was 10 times better, right? And
Really?
the one, yeah, I really enjoy it. No, man, more character development and more shit going on, and yeah. But the thing that Prometheus looked really good. And when I left the theater the first time seeing it, I was a little disappointed. And this new trailer for what's it called?
Covenant.
Yeah. I felt the same thing, and I was like, that whole fool me once type of thing.
Okay.
So I'm waiting till I get another trailer, but from basing it off this first trailer, I'm excited. I think it's cool that this franchise is coming back. It is a great horror sci-fi it's just a great franchise from my childhood. I'm excited that it's coming back.
Excellent.
I just hope it doesn't suck.
Yes, I think we all hope it doesn't suck, Tim. Dave,
Hey,
what'd you think?
Alien Covenant. It looks interesting. I think, and this is just my own personal opinion, I looked forward to Prometheus based on the trailers. I saw Prometheus in the theater. I enjoyed Prometheus, but it wasn't fully satisfying.
Yes.
It was lacking something. It was a good movie. Don't get me wrong. It was a good movie.
Yes.
It was just lacking something. And I think what it was everyone went into this expecting an Alien movie, even though Ridley Scott said, hey, it exists in the same universe, but this is not an Alien movie. But secretly, we all went in going, I hope we see aliens. I want to see aliens. This is the new Alien movie. And we didn't fully get that. And I think that was the missing piece to the puzzle. So we all left the theater saying it was a good movie, but there was something missing, and it was the aliens. And I think when Ridley Scott went back, decided to do, because this movie, Alien Covenant, was Prometheus Part 2 for the longest time.
Yes, it was.
And then I think he started, maybe not, getting shit on, but I think he actually started to listen to some of the fans and realize maybe I really should deliver the next great Alien movie. Maybe Prometheus 2 needs to be what I should have delivered in Prometheus.
Yes.
And maybe I really should make another Alien movie, because that's what everyone wants to see. And I think that's the genesis of Alien Covenant. Yeah. The trailer looks good. I mean, it's a teaser trailer. It shows a lot, but it doesn't show a lot. I'm intrigued. Let's put it that way. I'm intrigued.
So
I want to see more.
So I'll agree with one thing that you said. It shows a lot. I'll disagree with the fact that you say it doesn't show a lot. The only thing it doesn't really show, in my opinion, is anything really around the story of what to expect. But holy hell, man, you've got face huggers. You've got xenomorphs themselves, the actual friggin' aliens. I mean, you see the tail in the shower scene. Like, oh my god! And you've seen the poster for it. So I mean, we're dealing with full out alien here.
I don't deny that, and that's what I mean. We see a lot, but we don't see a lot. What we're seeing are a lot of images that you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fans say they want to see aliens. And that's what the trailer delivers. I mean, you've got what looks like an alien getting ready to burst out of a guy's back, for Christ's sakes. I mean, they show us a lot in the trailer, but it's just quick scenes, you know, just to kind of whet our appetites. I'm interested in certainly all of that, all the wet stuff, but I want to see from a story perspective how he's stitching the worlds together. Yeah. Like, how are we going to go from Prometheus to this? Where does this movie exist in the timeline? Is it before the events of Alien? Which I think so, because it sounds like it's going to be between Prometheus and the original Alien. But I guess I'm intrigued to see where this movie's going to take us, because I'm a huge fan of the Aliens franchise.
Absolutely.
Love those movies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the big things I'll point out on this was I was very interested to see Michael Fassbender in the trailer playing his David character by the looks of it, because that was the rumors that he's playing David again. So it'll be interesting how they've stitched that into it, you know, bringing Prometheus into this, so to speak. The one thing that I will say about the reactions on the internet, though, I'm trying to really ignore people on the internet right now about this one, because a lot of people are acting like spoiled, childish people right now when it comes to this. They're almost treating this like a remake. Because, and now, hear me out on this, whenever they're getting ready to put it a remake, somebody goes, oh my god, this looks like bullshit. We've had these conversations before. Why did they do it that way? That looks like garbage. That's not the way that it's supposed to be. They're not keeping with the original context of things. People are starting to do that with this movie already. I was reading a bunch of comments on like Bloody Disgusting and Dread Central and all these groups, and one of the biggest complaints from people are, oh look, a backburster. Wow. That's original. Kind of like a very, very poorly done fan fiction. I'm like, really? So, you know, it's like you can't have multiple different types of these xenomorphs or multiple ways that they've occurred, you know, from the facehugger stage to the bursting out of a human stage after the embryonic, you know what I mean? You know, the embryo occurring. Like you can't have any of this by any chance. I'm sorry, this is the guy who basically started all this shit, and he's coming up with more and more ways to put it in front of us, to give us more to story, more to characters, more to creatures, and people are just shitting on it because it's, once again, it's not what they wanted, but they wanted something different. They wanted to continue stories, but it's not what they wanted because it's not the same. It's the same shit that happened with The Force Awakens with Star Wars. People wanted a new Star Wars, but they didn't like the prequels. They want to go back to the way that the original trilogy was. They got a movie that was like the original trilogy, but oh my god, it's too much like the original trilogy. You can't satisfy everybody. And this really showed me that it's in every fandom that's out there. It's not just the sci-fi geeks, it's the horror geeks too. It's the action geeks. It's everybody out there. And it's,
guess what, Adam?
Yeah.
The internet can be dumb sometimes. I don't know if you knew that, but people on the internet can be dumb. And sometimes they're really, really dumb.
All right, end of rant, Tim. You've explained it to me. Thank you very much. End of rant.
And you bring everything that you just said are my feelings exactly. It's people just want to bitch about stuff, and you know, like I said, like I'm excited for this movie, but I'm not getting as excited as I should be, only because, like Dave said, I was left a little underwhelmed with Prometheus. But with that being said, this trailer looks amazing. It's everything that I wanted in a continuation of the Alien series. I just hope that, the movie lives up to, the hype that the trailer and coming trailers will bring. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I don't know. The internet's stupid.
All right.
Some days I hate the internet.
So, Adam, story time for a second, I guess.
Ooh, story time with Adam.
Story time
Adam
with
time
Adam.
for stories.
I need a little jingle. Story time with Adam.
That's exactly. So here's my Prometheus story, which is a Prometheus story, but not a Prometheus story, and you'll understand in a second.
That made no sense.
Are you going to tell us you landed on the planet? Are you going to tell us you were there?
I went to the planet and I
went to
saw
the planet. I totally saw
Michael
everything.
Fassbender was there.
But it wasn't Michael Fassbender, it was David.
No, it was Michael Fassbender.
As David. There you go. Shut up, guys.
Please, Adam, continue with your story.
Yeah, go on. It's
So-
Adam's story time.
So I ended up being in Virginia on a business trip. I was down in Richmond, Virginia. And
Virginia.
it was over Father's Day for the year that Prometheus came out. So when was that? It was
2012, 2013, something like that.
2012, I want to say. 2011 or 2012. So I was in Richmond, Virginia, and it was Father's Day. Prometheus had opened up like the previous week. I hadn't had a chance to see it yet. And I decided, because I was away from the kids and the wife, I'm like, this is kind of crappy. It's, Sunday afternoon or Sunday night. It's Father's Day. I'm lonely. I'm going to go see a movie, and I'm going to go with a crowd of people to see a movie. So nobody was available, but I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to go down. I'm going to get tickets. I'm going to go see a movie. There's going to be a crowd of people around me. I'm, kind of raise my spirits a little bit being away from the family. I go in. I'm like, all right, 3D Prometheus, wicked. Go to buy my tickets. The woman's like, well, there's a problem with the projection. I'm like, what's that? And she goes, well, the 3D's messed up. I'm like, shit. She goes, well, we'll sell you the tickets at a discount, but basically your eyes are going to hurt after the first 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm not going to go see this movie this way. She goes, well, we're probably going to pull it in the next day or two anyway. So the only other movie that was playing anywhere in the local area was the Adam Sandler, Andy Samberg movie, That's My Boy, where basically Adam Sandler is old now and he's playing Andy Samberg's father. So I'm like, okay, it's a comedy movie. It's Father's Day. I'm going to go watch this movie. So I go, I get my tickets, go into the theater. I sit down. There's nobody there. I ended up Father's Day watching this movie in a theater alone. And the usher felt so bad for me. He came in and sat down and watched most of the movie with me. He was like, how do you like the movie, man? I'm like, I'm liking it, I guess. So on the one night I was going to watch Prometheus, because I came home and the following week it was gone out of theaters, and I just did not have the chance to see it. It was just, the run here was sucked for what I could see it. And so I didn't get a chance to see it when I was home, didn't get to see it on the road. Instead, I ended up watching an Adam Sandler comedy movie, and I was the only damn person in the theater, and the usher felt bad for me and decided to stick around and watch it with me. That's the Adam story about Prometheus.
Wow.
That's almost sad.
That is sad.
Really sad.
I went back to the hotel that night, and I called Mick, and she's like, that is one of the most pathetic sounding things I've almost ever heard. And I said, thank you, darling. That really makes my Father's Day that much more special, hearing that from you. And she just couldn't help but laugh.
Adam all alone in Richmond, Virginia.
Watching a movie with nobody in the theater except for the usher, who felt bad. Adam story time with Adam, All right. Excellent. Well, anything else to add? Anything good for news? Dave, you did have one thing that I wanted you to say or mention. You had talked to me about it just before we started the podcast. You seen a good movie this week?
Oh, man. I saw an awesome movie a couple days ago. Actually, after the kids went to bed, after being totally exhausted on Christmas night, I ended up watching this movie, The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Oh.
You watched it. I'm going to watch it this week. I have not watched it yet.
Wow.
Highly
Highly recommended. Yeah, highly recommended. So, first off, I want to say I did read review online before watching this movie, which kind of left me like, and do I really want to watch it? Like, it looks so good, and I mean, I want to watch it, but this one individual had reviewed the movie and said, it was like the first 2/3 of the movie was like the scariest movie he had ever watched. It scared the crap out of him. He watched it in the dark with all the lights off and had the music turned up, and he actually had to like pause the movie, go turn on the lights, walk around for a little bit, and then finish it up. But then he kind of shit on the last third of it, saying, he hates a movie that rationalize all the shit going on in the movie, when sometimes, which to a certain extent I agree with, sometimes you don't need to rationalize things. Sometimes just let a movie play out and leave things up to the viewer's interpretation, which I don't disagree with. But it kind of left me, I want to watch this movie, but should I put it off or whatever? Anyway, long story short, I decided to watch it Christmas night. Glad I did. It is a phenomenal movie. Recommended. It is scary. Watch it, with the lights out, with the music turned up. It's got great atmosphere. It's about a father-son morgue attendants. They run their own mortuary out of the basement of the house. They've got a long-standing relationship, with local law enforcement and the sheriff. And the movie opens with the discovery of what looks like a mass murder-suicide at this house. And in the basement of the house is a partially unearthed body of a young woman.
Okay.
They get her out of the ground, and fingerprints, like there's nothing on this woman. They have no idea who she is, so they send her off to the morgue to determine cause of death and try to identify who she may be. And things kind of sort of, obviously from the trailers, take a supernatural turn, and some weird stuff starts happening, and it gets kind of spooky, really spooky. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think what the reviewer was commenting about with the rationale, it rationalizes, it tries to explain what we're seeing, but it doesn't make any sense. I'm trying not to spoil anything for you guys, because I think you guys need to sit down and watch this movie. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say too much other than go check it out. I think I got to sit down. I think I got to watch it again. It's that good.
Are you possibly suggesting that we watch this movie and do an episode on it? Do you want to discuss this movie?
We could.
It almost sounds like you're baiting. Like
I am. I'm baiting you. Do you want to do it or not, Dave?
We certainly. What you're talking about doing a live episode kind of thing and discussing the show, or what?
We'll just do a regular episode. Just discuss the movie, like what we're doing tonight with tonight's topic. But
we can certainly do that. Why don't you guys watch it? And maybe we'll plan a future date, and we'll talk about this movie, because I think it's worth talking about. Did you guys ever see the movie Troll Hunter?
Yep.
Did you go?
Yes, absolutely.
So this is by the same director.
Oh, nice. I love Troll Hunter. I thought that movie was good. Awesome.
That came out of left field. I was pleasantly surprised by it. Anyway, same director.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's watch it. Maybe we'll do an episode on it. I think it deserves it.
I think so.
Cool.
Excellent. Well, anything else to add to news from tonight, or we could probably take a break in a minute, guys, and we'll come right back to it, and we'll talk about the movie of the night in our final episode of the 2016 December to Dismember.
I just couldn't top that. I didn't even try. Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come
back. Good.
It did feel good, didn't it?
It totally did.
He was waiting all night for me to say that. All right, coming right back, guys.
Dead Girl Superstar, Living Dead Pinups, a unique spin on the traditional pinup with a zombie twist. The official apparel of They Cast from the Coast. T-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and more. The official store, www.society6.com/misunderstood art company. A must-have to zombify your apocalypse. Make sure to follow us on Facebook. Dead Girl Superstar from Misunderstood Art Company. Spread the dead.
Billy Pelser has a nice home.
Billy, is that you?
Yeah, Mom, it's me.
A nice job. A nice girl.
If you're not doing anything this Thursday night, maybe you'd like to go out on a date with me?
I'd love to.
And loving parents who are about to give him
You're gonna like this. No, don't shake it. We're gonna have to open it now. It won't wait till Christmas.
the most unusual gift he ever got.
What is it?
It's your new pet.
Come on, Barney, be a good dog. My dad gave it to me.
But there are a few things to keep in mind. If you expose it to the light, you may hurt it. If you get it wet, it will multiply.
All that from water? They got wet?
Yeah, plain water.
And most important, no matter how much they beg, never let them eat after midnight. Because when they do, they change. They become clever, mischievous,
What's going on here?
and dangerous.
Gremlins, huh? Little monsters.
Right.
Hundreds of them.
Well, I don't know, maybe thousands.
They've been here too. Billy, what are these things? Where did they come from?
Look, I know it sounds crazy, I know. But in a few hours, you're gonna have a major disaster on your hands.
Gremlins, directed by Joe Dante. They'll be expecting you.
Welcome back, everybody, and welcome back to our fourth and final December to Dismember. Like I said, I'm gonna miss that, man. I'm gonna miss it until we do it next.
Wasn't even gonna try.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start doing it like at the end of like every episode, or when you announce the name of the film that we're gonna do, like
We're gonna do the autopsy of Jane Doe.
You know what I mean? Like it gives it like some balls. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys are serious about their horror.
Man, the first review. This podcast has balls. Wolfman's got nards.
Yeah,
Exactly.
nice reference.
Nice. So, for the fourth episode and the final one for this year of 2016, we are doing a special movie. Tim, this was your decision, your movie. We all agreed with it because we love this movie.
Yep.
Tell us what it is. Take us out.
The 1984 classic Gremlins, written by Chris Columbus, directed by Joe Dante, and executive produced by Steven Spielberg.
What a frickin' powerhouse, man. I love it.
I know you cannot go wrong with the production team of this film.
No, not at all. This movie has win written all over it. Even back in the day, everybody was like, "Oh my god, this is going to be great." But like you look at this movie now, and after the solidified names that these guys have made for themselves in horror and just action and sci-fi history, you look at it and you go, "Holy crap!" They were just a bunch of young guys trying to have fun, and they made some of the best damn movies ever. It's great. Love everything about it. So, Tim, tell us a little bit more about this classic 1984 powerhouse of a movie.
Well, it's a simple little story. It starts with a gadget salesman who happens to be looking for a present for his son during Christmas. And what he ends up doing is he meets up with this young Chinese boy who takes him to his grandfather's shop, which has a lot of weird little odds and ends and items that you can't find in normal stores. And he comes in contact with a mogwai. And the salesman, this ancient looking Chinese man, like this guy looks like he should be in like some kind of like ancient Buddhist like monastery or something, like classic looking man, basically is saying, no, you cannot, the mogwai is not for sale. You will not, you just can't have them. Like, you just can't have them. And, the salesman, which I believe is Rand Pelser, he's a little upset. And then the grandson basically takes him and says, meet me outside. And Rand Pelser gets the gremlin, or I don't mean to keep calling him gremlin. Is it mogwai? And he ends up getting the mogwai for his son for Christmas, and that basically starts her off. And with the mogwai comes great responsibility, with 3 very unrealistic, very strict rules, which apply to taking care of said mogwai, which would be
Number one,
don't feed after midnight.
which is
Was that
very
number? Yeah.
well, I think number 1 was different than that, but still, let's talk about that for a second real quick. This one is very subjective. When is it no longer after midnight?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's always midnight somewhere in the world. Like, what time? Are we following like Eastern Standard Time, Pacific? Like, where is it not midnight? Like, what midnight?
Well,
What midnight?
and not only that, if you're talking midnight local, let's just even assume midnight local for a second. When is it then before midnight so you can feed them? Is it at the halfway point? Is it 12 hours after midnight? You're now halfway through the day. You can now feed them because it's before midnight officially?
It's too cerebral, guys. It's too cerebral.
It's too cerebral.
my head hurts.
My head hurts. Okay, moving on. Number 2.
Okay, well, this technically was number 1, was never expose them to bright light, especially sunlight. Sunlight can kill him.
Yes. It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that's like photosynthesis, and don't we need sunlight to be around sunlight? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand.
No, I don't understand that one entirely either. However, there are still, now they do say bright lights. So obviously soft toned lights and everything. Like there are many scenes in this movie where like the mogwai is up in Billy's room and it's he's got like lamps on and very soft lights and it seems to be fine. But it's like the camera flash, sunlight, the overhead main light in a room, stuff like this. It's
Well, I mean, how I took it was that they don't like bright light, but sunlight will kill them.
Yes. So, but that's just weird. But okay, sunlight will kill them.
Yeah.
No bright lights. Yeah. Number 3.
And 3 is do not get them wet, or don't get them wet.
Yeah, don't get them wet. So, like a chinchilla, you cannot bath these things. Only a chinchilla will not multiply and spit smaller versions of itself out of its own ass and back.
Exactly. And, the thing is like, okay, don't get them wet. And, but like, how do they drink? Like, what do they drink? So you can't feed them. You can't take them outside, and you can't give them something to drink. Like, that's...
They live off the essence of the universe, I guess. That's just what it is.
I mean, yeah. But aside from those very unrealistic set of rules, there is a purpose for that because, like we said, sunlight will kill them. Feeding them after midnight will turn them into gremlins, and getting them wet will multiply however many, depending on how wet they get, a whole army of these little fantasy creatures.
Fantasy creatures, yes. Yes, referenced in other Steven Spielberg movies like Goonies.
Yeah.
Lawrence, is this like the time when you told me that there were little green men that multiply when you get them wet?
No, that was such a nice little reference too.
It was a wonderful, wonderful reference.
Yeah.
So we have the 3 rules, and we have the scenario where the father has bought the Mogwai for his son for Christmas against the old man's wishes from Chinatown somewhere, where he found him and purchased him. So we have Billy. Billy is madly in love with a wonderful character played by Phoebe Cates.
Oh man, Phoebe Cates.
Kate Berenger, Phoebe Cates. Yes, I heart Phoebe Cates in this movie. What a sweetheart in this movie.
Yep.
So,
not really.
Every
She
young
was.
boy growing up watching
No.
Gremlins had a thing for Phoebe.
Oh, finish what you were going to say, Dave.
I was going to say, I think every young boy watching this movie growing up in the 80s had a thing for Phoebe Cates.
Yeah, she was really hot, but she was a Debbie Downer in this movie.
well, she totally was.
Oh, for sure.
When she revealed her speech as to why she hated Christmas so much.
I think that this was one of the reasons why my kid doesn't believe in Santa Claus anymore. I totally forgot that this scene was in there.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as that
And what
scene
a dark
started,
way to find out. You know what I mean?
as soon as this scene started to come up, my wife was like, "Fast forward it. Do not let the kids hear this speech." I'm like, "Oh god."
Yeah,
Okay.
I kind of forgot about that little slip there that, and that's how I found out there was no Santa Claus. And I was watching this movie with the kids today. Both of them were sitting on the couch. And I completely forgot about that one line in the movie. And all of a sudden she said it, and I'm like, she's just joking. And I just continued playing on their tablet. So I think I
You
potential
dodged it,
disaster,
Dave.
so-
You dodged it.
dodged a bullet. Yeah.
That one. Nice. Oh, wow. So, Gizmo, wonderfully played by the infamous Howie Mandel,
Yep.
which always blew my mind when I heard about that. That was...
Yeah, but if you ever seen his character that he does, I believe it's Billy.
Oh, Bobby.
I believe that
Bobby's
Bobby.
World. Yeah,
Bobby.
It almost sounds exactly the same as Gizmo.
Yeah, pretty much. He was a
Yep.
he was a voice actor with a couple of voices.
Yeah.
Handful of voices. So, plus he's a major germaphobe, but that's a different story. Okay.
You can't feed him after midnight.
Can't feed him after midnight. Can't feed him anything.
Or get him wet.
Nicely put, Tim. Nicely put.
Oh my.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So what we have are the 3 rules, which unfortunately, the first rule goes awry really quickly in the story when the very so infamous Corey Feldman comes into the picture and fucks it up.
Yep.
All he wanted to do was hold him. All he wanted to do was pick him up and hold him. And what did he do? Splashes the little bugger with water. Yeah. Okay. Splashes him with water. Then we have multiple Mogwais now appear. And they range from weird looking to weirder looking to stripe mohawk on his head.
Yep.
And
the leader.
The leader. Of course he's the leader. He's got a mohawk on his head, apparently. That's an 80s thing right there, right? Oh, man, he's got to be the leader. He's got the mohawk.
He's a rebel.
He's a rebel. He looks dangerous.
Well, and the thing that I really liked was that, Gizmo was the exception to the rule with this type of, breed of mythical animal or whatever, where he was, this sweet, kind-hearted little guy. But it almost makes you think that, when he gets water spilt all over him and, multiplies, that Stripe and his gang are what Mogwai are normally. Because one little piece of early trivia is that in Cantonese, Mogwai means devil.
Yes, I did hear about that somewhere.
And, it means devil, demon, or gremlin.
Yes.
So are the name of this animal is, devil. So, Gizmo's an exception to the rule.
Well, and that being said too, then you got to think about something. Let's not try to get too deep. This isn't like the natural world and a Jack Hanna special or anything like that, but
yes it is.
What do you mean?
But Gizmo had to come from somewhere, and by the sounds of it, it ain't like there's a mommy Mogwai and a daddy Mogwai. He was birthed out of somebody's back after that bugger got wet too somewhere.
Absolutely, but it makes you think how long the Chinese store owner has been in possession of Gizmo.
Yes, it's true.
Taking care of him, and so.
And Dad, we just
nurture nature.
Grandpa, we just sold the Mogwai. We need another. Bloop bloop plop. Just produce them at will, right? So yeah, I love this movie. I love it a lot, and pretty much everything about this movie. The acting's all great. I mean, we already talked about Phoebe Cates.
Yep,
Phoebe Cates is wonderful. Everybody loves Phoebe Cates. Corey Feldman, I found, played his atypical Corey Feldman character. But I mean,
you could have swapped. You
go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was going to say, you could swap his acting for any other movie that he was in around 1984. You know what I mean? Or 85. He plays the same character in every movie. And I'm not saying that it's bad, but due to his age, that's what people cast him for, right? And I thought he was great, but. Yeah. You're right.
No, it's absolutely. But I mean, atypical Corey Feldman. But I mean, really, how much can you ask of a child actor at that point? I mean, he was only, only like about 13 years old, 14 years old, something like this when this movie was being made, something like that. So, I mean, child actor, it's Corey Feldman. He's classic in the horror movies. So what are you going to do about that? But the movie had so many amazing people in it. I mean, not just Phoebe Cates and Corey Feldman, but you had the classic Dick Miller, who's been in everything. The man's got 180 credits to his name for acting, and he's been in everything from The Terminator to Gremlins to Small Soldiers to a very recent movie that I liked, which was actually a, go figure, Joe Dante flick, Burying the X, one of Anton Yelchin's last movies. And he played a cop in that movie. If you haven't seen that movie, it's a really good movie. But he basically he started to become a very regular Joe Dante actor for whenever Joe Dante got behind the lens again. He was also in that one, The Hole, back in 2009 that Dante put out. Pretty good stuff. One of my favorite actors in this movie, and he died back in 99, was Hoyt Axton, the father.
Yeah.
Hoyt Axton, this man, before, I knew that he did a lot of acting. I mean, the man was in a good amount of movies, probably about 50 movies or so, but I did not know. I had to really dig deep into what this guy was all about when it came to it. I didn't know that he was such a well-known music composer and singer-songwriter as well. He was in the band, was it Three Dog Night? And he created the song Joy to the World with this group.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He wrote the song Joy to the World for the group Three Dog Night. And it's just a classic song. So it's basically, what did he do in his spare time when he wasn't singing and songwriting? He acted.
I was going to say, I was hoping he made inventions.
The Travel Buddy and all kinds of other things. That's exactly.
Yeah. Smokeless ashtray and all that.
Smokeless ashtray. That's exactly. But then all of a sudden you had Zach Galligan, who played Billy in the movie, and he's been in a whole crap load of stuff. He was in a lot of the cheesy 80 horror movies like Waxwork and Waxwork 2. He played right through. Man, he was in a whole bunch of stuff. But then you get right down to it, and this is what I was going to mention here, is that you had a lot of these, smaller actors that kind of came up on it, that they appeared in the movie, And what I found was that you had, like, specifically, there was one actor here, I'll pull up his name again here. It was Arnie Moore. So the character appears for a couple of minutes on film, not very long. He played a character by the name of Alex, so he got credit for it. But, like, when I look at you've got all these powerhouse actors in this movie, and then you've got Arnie Moore. It was barely in anything. And what you get is, when you look at this guy's credits, you see Gremlins. And then his other big credit is a movie, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. And I'm looking at this going, I don't recognize this guy from Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. Who the hell did this guy play in Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter? So I went back and I looked at it, and it turns out he played, like, a medic. But this was, like, his big credit. You know, it was like the two movies he's known for, Gremlins and Friday the 13th. I'm like, okay. So we really did have a big mix of...
Oh.
What?
Oh, well, I was going to say, like, there was even... There's, like... Even down to the voices of the Gremlins. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Frank Welker and Peter Cullen, best known for doing Megatron and Optimus Prime from the Transformers.
That's right.
They did voices of the Mogwai and Gremlins, like... Mind blown.
Yes. This movie really did have a powerhouse ensemble. It really did. But that's why I had to point out, because, like, you have the absolute huge actors that are well known for everything that they did. And even, like I said, Hoyt Axton, who was a surprise with some of the extra stuff that he did that I found out about. But then you get right down to the bottom of it. It's like, you know, these guys who didn't do anything else. You know what I mean? There was really a huge difference between them. But yes, Frank Welker and Peter Cullen, like you said, that's absolutely brilliant that those two were in it.
I also think it's awesome that Jonathan Banks was in it. He's on Better Call Saul and
oh yes,
Breaking Bad. He plays. Oh, why is his name not coming to me right now? Who he plays? This is bad. He plays Mike. He plays the deputy in this. And when I watched it recently, I was like, holy shit, it's Mike, right? So,
well, actually, and one of the other actors who played the Gremlins was actually Michael Winslow, who was very well known for his portrayal in the Police Academy movies as Larvell Jones, the guy who basically did all the voices.
Yeah.
So, the wonders of this movie. Do you want to continue, Tim, or should I? Go ahead.
You kind of broke up there again. I didn't hear what you said.
Said the wonders of this movie. Do you want to continue, or should I?
Well, we can tag team it. We can tag team it.
Let's tag team this. So once again, we have the wonderful Corey Feldman, who is basically playing the same character he plays in every movie.
Yep.
Who spills water on the Mogwai, and all shit breaks loose because we now have multiple Mogwais.
A whole gang of them.
A whole gang,
and they're mean. They're mean
little buggers too, right? And they're biting at people and. The thing that my kids liked the most about these Mogwais was that it always seemed like they were conspiring. They had their own
they were sneaky little, greasy buggers. Little bastards.
Yes, they were. And so the Mogwais appear, and in their little scheming and little sneaky, shady, bastardist type of situations, they come up with a scheme that they obviously screw with the mind of Billy, and they cut the cord on his plug-in alarm clock. Doesn't work on batteries, people. It's plug-in old alarm clock, the old analog one.
It's the 80s. It's the 80s.
And fray the wires pretty good on him. And they basically make him think that it's still before midnight, so he feeds them.
And it's such a disgusting scene watching them eat chicken. I always feel like that when I'm eating KFC. Seriously, that pops in my mind every time I'm eating like chicken legs and stuff. I think of the Gremlins eating their chicken in their little box next to Billy's bed every time.
So nasty.
Every single time.
It's like, putrid slime coming off of you and boogers out of your nose, and you're wiping on your arm, and you're eating.
I love chicken. Yeah.
That's exactly this is the movie that spawned Tim's love for eating chicken too. So
Yeah,
so it's a
at
love-hate
midnight
relationship.
next to my bed. Yep,
It's a love-hate relationship. Yeah,
it is.
So, but interestingly enough too is I like how this kind of interestingly enough, I like how Billy takes it upon himself to bring one of the Mogwai into the science teacher at the local school. And the science teacher's just like bewildered by this thing. And he's like, wow, this thing's awesome. And he's going to do all these experiments on it. But it's like little town America. And this little science teacher's not like, calling the friggin' newspapers or look at this thing that we found. And nobody's ever discovered one of these things before, You'd figure the guy'd be trying to go for some sort of like a friggin', prize of some kind or, go for grant money saying, hey, we need to experiment with these things. No, I'm just going to take some blood samples and torture it by, teasing it with food and shit. And, away you go. And,
I loved his acting in it though, because like he reminded me so much of like Sam Jackson meets Billy D. Williams. Like, I don't know. I loved all the scenes that he was in, right?
Like if Samuel L. Jackson played Lando Calrissian.
Yes. You nailed it.
But Lando Calrissian was a high school teacher. Science teacher.
Yes, if he a high school science teacher.
That's exactly. Excellent. So then he unfortunately leaves his food a little too close to the creature and does not, ensure that the rules are abided by. And this creature then turns into a gremlin itself. But the reason why this gremlin is so important is because this is the first gremlin that you really truly see. It's like it jumps out of the when Billy comes to the school and he finds the teacher dead. This gremlin is the one that jumps out of the cupboard at him, and we kind of really see a really good look at the gremlin now, and it's not just kind of in the shadows.
But did the gremlin actually kill the teacher though?
Well,
like
that's a good question.
I mean, all you see is underneath the desk, and he has a needle in his ass. But like, did he really kill him? Because I mean, that's one of the things with the gremlins is that they don't outright kill people. They do it almost like with a mischievous little kind of way. Like even an earlier scene. Well, I'm getting a later scene actually, and I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk about it in a minute. But I don't know. I just never really got the vibe, even when I was a kid, that the teacher was dead.
Well, it's true. You want to tell your kids he's just sleeping. He's just sleeping.
He's asleep.
He's asleep. Well, I mean, to your point, thinking about that for a second, you've got the professor who's basically half under the desk and he's got a needle in his ass. He could just be out unconscious. Even then, Dick Miller's character, him and his wife, it looks like they get run over by the friggin' backhoe. But they're obviously not
gremlins too.
But they're in gremlins too. The only one that I think that we can really honestly say is probably dead is the old lady, the old
Mrs. Deagle.
Mrs. Deagle, where she goes flying out the damn window, and the snow might have softened the blow. She's probably not actually dead, but they sure as shit didn't look like they were about to pull her out of the snow and check on her. The freaking sheriff and the deputy, they're just kind of like, leave her be. I'm like, okay, so maybe she was dead, but yeah, it's not a direct action, so it's not like the gremlin comes over and stabs them. It's like their mischievous nature causes something to occur, and the butterfly effect of some sort causes death or trauma of some kind, which also, when you look at it, good point, really kind of sets the tone for Stripe, the one with the mohawk. Yeah. Because when him and Billy are going at it at the store, when they're basically hunting each other down, like Billy's hunting him and he's kind of fighting back, he tries to kill Billy with a friggin' chainsaw. Flat out.
Shoots him with a crossbow and
points a gun at him, he's going to kill him.
Points a gun at him, yeah.
Exactly.
My favorite scene of the whole movie, though, is while Billy is at the school and finds out that the gremlin has hatched from the egg, he calls his mother And he's like, Mom, they've hatched. And she's like, oh my God, right? And then she's up in his room when she answers the phone. She sees all these weird alien-esque pods open, and there's all kinds of smoke and mood lighting, and the music in that scene was awesome. And then all of a sudden, the Christmas do you hear what I hear starts playing downstairs. I can't hear that song now to this day without thinking about the Gremlins. That and Chicken.
Oh my gosh, yes. I totally said the same thing the other night to my wife when we were watching this movie. I said, this movie almost ruined that song for me, because whenever I hear that song, the haunting melody of that song, all I can think of is the Gremlins.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she goes downstairs to investigate, and Mrs. Peltzer goes on a murderous rampage, killing these gremlins in her kitchen. And it is my favorite scene of the whole movie. She is so badass, like almost like Ripley-esque. You know what I mean? Like she's, she finds all these different creative ways of killing these gremlins. And yeah, it's my favorite scene of the whole movie. The gremlin in the mixer, and then the other one in the microwave, and then she stabs one, and it's my favorite scene in the movie.
Mrs. Peltzer is a badass in this movie. She
is a badass.
She is a badass in this movie. She's pretty much the hero for a lot. Yeah. Look how many she got rid of herself. Yeah. Like how many did Billy get rid of?
Get out of my kitchen. You know what I mean? Like she killed every one of them. And then she goes out, and then she gets attacked by the one that's in the Christmas tree, and then that's when Billy shows back up from the high school. He takes the sword, cuts his head off, and then that's when Stripe basically, gets away, and all havoc ensues.
Yeah. Well, the only people who killed any more gremlins than her is Billy and Karen, but they had to burn down an entire damn theater to do it.
Yeah, so it doesn't really count.
Doesn't really count. No, she was badass one-on-one badass.
Yeah, she was badass picking up the knife, and it was awesome. She picked up
and then had to go with the second knife.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I love when like the gremlins like throwing plates at her, and she picks up like the TV table like it's a shield, and she's got the knife, and it was awesome. It was so awesome. It's my favorite scene of the whole movie.
Yep, absolutely. The Gremlins and their mischievous way are some of the most memorable scenes in the entire movie. When you start to hear the actual infamous Gremlins music, dun 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 dun, dun, and they're out and about the town. There's people with the Gremlins hanging off of them. Then you start to get into the scenes with Dick Miller and him and his wife with the backhoe coming through the house. Then once again, Miss Deagle with the chair. She goes up the, one of those chairs that drives you up the wall, literally, brum-ching, and flies her at the window. David, you were saying the other night that one of your favorite scenes, one of the most memorable scenes for almost anybody, really, too, I think, was when she comes and she looks outside and they're caroling. The Gremlins are caroling.
Oh, yeah. I love that part.
Yeah.
But you want to know what doesn't make sense for that scene for me now as an adult?
What's that?
How do the Gremlins know their own theme song?
I have no clue.
Just think about it for a second. How did they know their own theme song? Now, in the context of the movie, it's awesome. And the fact that it was 1984, it's awesome. It's a memorable scene. But reflecting on it now as a 37-year-old movie fan, how did they know their own theme song? Think about it for a minute.
Wow. Mind blown.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit. Even though it's awesome.
Deep thinking.
Some deep thinking. It's too cerebral, man. It's too cerebral.
Oh, this movie is deep. Just give it a chance.
This movie is deep. So the movie itself takes place in the town of Kingston Falls. The one thing I always thought that was great about this movie, and I went back to confirm it myself because I was looking at it going, man, like the setup,
looks familiar.
It looks familiar. The setup of this town, it's got the small town feel, like, the downtown core and everything all set up. And I was right. I had seen it before. It was the same studio lot, like the same setup that they had used for Back to the Future.
Yep.
That's awesome. I friggin' love it. And it's just, it's one of those things that just, yet another great movie, you know, in the grand scheme of things. The movie itself is full of all kinds of other little, you know, tidbits of stuff. I love how they just keep throwing things in there. Like when Randy Peltzer is at the convention, and you look in the background, and all you see are like the infamous robots from, you know, you see like robots from different movies. You see the time machine from the original movie.
Which I thought was awesome because in one scene it's there and then it's gone.
Yes, which was perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it was so good. And like the guys are like looking around like, where did it go? Like,
Where did
I
it
love
go? It was great. And the people who are actually like some of the convention attendees are like Steven Spielberg. Robbie the Robot was there, you know, classic, which is great. It didn't stop. They just had so much extra that they tossed into this movie that just, even the kids were like, hey, that's really cool. And my kids haven't seen a lot of that stuff either, but they recognize, you know, like Robbie the Robot from, you know, various things that they've seen in the past. Not necessarily that they've ever seen anything that starred that character, but, you know, they've seen them before. So the movie has a wonderful ending to it, I think, because it kind of... The movie tries to be quite a bit on the level of the whole responsibility thing.
Yeah.
You know, they really tried to force into you that it's not always as easy as you think it is. You know, life is not easy. Things are not easy. And I love the old Chinese man. You know, the grandfather, I think he's great. Especially with his interactions with Gizmo.
Oh, it was adorable.
He's just he's like, Gizmo is like his grandchild. This is his baby. Oh, look at it! And he's just oogling and googling and ogling over it. It's just incredibly cool. And his little quips and quirks about the you know, the smokeless ashtray. Somebody tried to sell him one at one of the local gas stations. You know, it's just hilarious. Yeah. The movie itself is just beautiful. I love everything about it. So, David, did you confirm what you were trying to confirm by any chance?
I found one reference to it on the internet, but it was kind of buried on IMDb down in the list. It was a little Easter egg that I found in the movie when I watched it earlier today. I'd never ever picked up on it, and I'm sitting down watching it today. And I mean, isn't that the magic of movies? I mean, you can watch a movie over and over again, and you know, a lot of movies, you see something new every time you watch it. And it was so true today. I'm watching Gremlins, and all of a sudden, at the 39-minute mark, I get the plate of chicken for the Gremlins to eat before midnight. And as he closes the fridge door, there's a smiley face on the door. And I'm like, I know that smiley face. I know where I've seen it. The Howling.
No.
So The Howling, directed by Joe Dante in 1981. Gremlins, directed by Joe Dante in 1984. At the beginning of The Howling, when Dee Wallace is meeting up with, I can't remember his name in the movie, but the serial killer that she's trying to interview, and he leaves behind the smiley face stickers. So the right phone booth has the smiley face in it, and then the peep show booth has the smiley face in it, so she knows which one to go to. Well, it's the exact same smiley face that's on the fridge.
Nice. Very nice.
And I'm like, I can't believe I didn't pick up on that before. Anyway, I seen that, and I'm looking around on the internet, and I can't find it. And as we were talking tonight, I was just kind of surfing around, and I found it buried deep in the list on IMDb. You got to scroll down quite a ways, and it's only like a one-line thing that kind of references it. So it's there. It wasn't as obscure as I thought it was there.
No, but that is that I've never noticed that, and I'll notice it next time.
Yeah. Definitely will.
Just today. It's quick. Like he closes the fridge, and the camera kind of hangs on the smiley face for a second, like on purpose. You'll know what I mean when you see it. It just hangs on it for an extra few seconds, and I'm like, okay.
That's awesome. I have a little piece of a horror Easter egg trivia that pertains to this film as well.
Excellent.
In the scene in the department store where Stripe attacks Billy with the chainsaw, that scene was originally not in the script, but was added by Joe Dante and Zach Ellen as a tribute to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Nice.
Possibly the greatest horror movie ever made, in my opinion.
In your opinion.
That is in my opinion, yes. And that's why I say that.
Just busting your balls, buddy. Just busting your balls.
I know. Well, it's just kind of funny because there was a lot, throughout the years I've read a lot of things that they wanted to do with this movie. Apparently there was a scene where there was going to be like a restaurant, like a McDonald's type of store, where during the Gremlins attack on the town and their mischievous ways, the store was going to be seen, and you were going to see like the Gremlins wearing like outfits of the employees, taking each other's orders and throwing shit, and one of them falling into the fryer, and then they were going to be like eating people instead of like hamburgers. They were going to be like eating people. But I guess that scene was kind of thrown out because they were kind of like, well, it's not exactly, like the eating people type of thing, right? It's not exactly the rest of the movie, typical like the rest of the movie. They kind of kept a lot of that out of view of what was going on. There was not a lot of finishing, if you know what I mean, with the movie. You see the Gremlins attacking people, but you don't see them like murdering people, like you were saying, right? Like it's a lot of just mischievous, the effects of being mischievous were a lot of what did people through. So a lot of references to Steven Spielberg in their movies too. If you guys didn't notice, and this was the first time that I noticed this one when I'd seen the movie, the billboard when it first shows the town, Rockin' Ricky Rialto at the start of the movie. He's done up like Indiana Jones, and it's all like, he's done up and he's got the whip and all that kind of stuff, and it's pretty cool. I was like, Steven Spielberg. That's pretty damn cool.
Do you want to know what I wish that they would have added more? Was more like audio clips of like what was going on with him in the studio. Because like there was one or two scenes where they had him playing, right? And I just wish that that was a theme that was carried more on, throughout the movie, because I thought that like it was, I thought it was funny.
Nice. Yes, I agree. 100%.
Apparently, you guys didn't because there was silence after that. So.
No. I said nice. I agree. Rockin'.
It was forced. No, it was forced.
It was totally forced. Not really.
Totally forced.
On another note,
you guys are assholes.
On another note, one other actor in this movie, which had another infamous 80s horror movie under his belt, was the dog, Barney. Barney, played by a dog named Mushroom in real life, was also the dog named Gypsy in Pumpkinhead.
Really?
Yeah, 4 years later in the movie Pumpkinhead, directed by Stan Winston. Right?
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, that's pretty cool too, because you always hear about them having like stunt dogs and dogs trained for certain things in the movies, but this is pretty cool. Direct correlation. This dog has credit on IMDb as being Barney in Gremlins and Gypsy in Pumpkinhead, and that's it. It's like, it's pretty cool actually. Those two movies particularly. So, David.
Hey.
What do you got to add to this movie? Because we've been like talking, and I figured that you've probably spent a lot of this time trying to figure out some of the where you had seen that smiley face from, and you finally figured it out, and my mind's blown over that one. But talk to me a little bit more about your feelings on the movie, Dave. You love this movie.
I love this movie. This movie it has a special place in my heart. It like so many during that time frame as a kid, the early 80s, I was a huge fan of Spielberg movies. of E.T. and Goonies and Gremlins, and my fond memory of this movie was to see it as a kid when it was first in the theaters, but when it came out on video on VHS, our Aunt Carolyn, had actually sent up. We were living in Ontario at the time, and she was still living back here in Nova Scotia, and she used to send up, I'll call it, care packages of VHS. So she used to rent a whole bunch of movies and dub them and send them up in a care package to us to watch. And I had wanted to watch Gremlins. I mean, this was one of those movies that I absolutely had to see when I was a young kid. So as soon as it came out for rent on VHS, she dubbed it and sent it up, and I watched it. I mean, I remember receiving that package in the mail and Gremlins and popping it in the VCR and just watching it over and over and over again as a kid. Like, it's good memories. And I mean, what a phenomenal movie. It's like you guys said at the beginning. I mean, everything clicked, right? I mean, you had Steven Spielberg producing it. It was written by Chris Columbus, written by Chris Columbus, directed by Joe Dante. Advertised as, I guess, more of a comedy movie, but some of the controversy surrounding it, it was that some of the scenes were a little more terrifying, I guess, than what some parents had thought, and it a little bit of a controversy at the time, and whether it was bad marketing or what. I mean, the movie still made a ton of money, but it was certainly a little more terrifying for some audience members than what they had anticipated going into it. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought all the characters were spot on. The father, Hoyt Axton, I thought he was fantastic in the role. Like you guys said, the mother. And so many of these guys had gone on to other Spielberg stuff, like the mother. She played Lee Thompson's mother in Back to the Future.
Oh.
Right? Yeah. You remember the scene where they're all sitting around the table after, the father hits Michael J. Fox with the car, and he's there sitting having supper with the family. Well, his mother is the same mother from Gremlins.
Nice.
So there's a lot of you'll find, like, over those few years with all those movies, there's a lot of shared cast between several Spielberg movies and other popular movies at that time. I thought the storyline was fantastic. I mean, it's equal parts funny and scary. I mean, even watching it today, I still get a kick out of the Gremlins as they're doing their Christmas caroling or just doing their nastiness, right? I mean, the whole scene with the Gremlins in the plowed, going through the Mr. Futterman's house, and I mean, it's horrifying because you can see the fright and the terror on Dick Miller's face and everything else, but yet back on the cab and you see the Gremlins in there and they're laughing and doing their thing, and I mean, you just can't help but laugh, right? So I mean, I think there's a really good balance there of horror, or at least terrifying elements, and the comedy, and at least trying to make light of the situation. Certainly the downer moment of the movie is when Phoebe Cates relays the story of her father on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Man, as a kid listening to that story, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I mean, that was it, man. That was heartbreaking. That was,
yeah,
I bawled. You know what I mean? Like, listening to that story.
Yeah.
And even today, it's still a difficult story to listen to, right? But it's stuff like that just it makes the movie. That's what makes the movie stand out. I mean, the performances, the excellent. It's why the movie has lasted, so long. I think overall, it's certainly one of my favorite movies. I mean, I'm a huge Spielberg fan. I'm a huge fan of his movies. He was a producer in it, not a director, but I mean, it's very much a a Spielberg movie as far as I'm concerned. I know it was directed by Joe Dante, but it's very much a Steven Spielberg movie.
Well, everything that Steven Spielberg's ever put his name on, even in regards to producing, has always had a very particular feel and look to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's just no doubt about
Absolutely.
it. So, you want to talk about badass, though, real quick. Let's go back to that for a second. The actress who actually played Billy's mother, her name is Frances Lee McCain. And the other thing that I thought of, and I'm just going to bring this up now, it's in my notes, she looked like, I went back and I'm thinking to myself, I've seen her from something else recently that I've watched. And I went back and I've reconfirmed it. A couple of months ago, I sat down and I watched Scream, the original again. Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven and everything else. She played Dewey and Tatum's mother, Mrs. Riley. That was her. Now, fuzzy haired and a little bit older and everything else, right? But it was Mrs. Riley. So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So I haven't seen her in a while, so excellent. So, gentlemen, Gremlins, great movie. Recommend it to anybody who ever wants to watch this. Let us say really quickly that the movie does have a sequel. How much farther you want to say anything about that? I'll
throw my 2 cents in.
I was gonna say, I don't have a hatred on for the sequel like a lot of people do. There are people that just right out hate the movie and this isn't Gremlins and it's bullshit and all this kind of stuff. That movie came out when it was a time for sequelitis to hit. It was a time to make the money off of franchises. And they really did try to kind of go the next level, bigger and better. It had new budget. It had, returning actors, returning director, returning writers even. And then it had more people that it would add to it that would be, I don't want to say infamous, but more big name actors. It had the absolutely amazing Christopher Lee in this movie, and I personally have a like for the movie. As corny as it could have been, I thought it was fun. It just wasn't as horror or frightening as the original would have portrayed, which almost like you kind of said, Dave, was kind of like it was never originally meant to be, but it did have some effect on that way. But this movie was just flat out more comedy fantasy than anything else. But throw your 2 cents in there, Dave.
Gremlins 2 is something that probably should never have been made.
See,
at least the form that it exists today. I think Gremlins deserves a sequel, but I absolutely hate Batch. And you know what? I honestly tried to give it another shot. Sat down and I decided to watch Gremlins and then back to back with Gremlins 2. And I'm thinking to myself, it's been years. It can't be as bad as I remember it. Yes, it is as bad as I remember it. I just simply do not like Gremlins 2. And I find it strange that I read recently that actually prefers Gremlins 2. He came back and actually directed the second one, and he says he prefers it. And the only thing I can think is he was hard up for cash. He needed the money. He directed the second one, and I don't know, maybe he pulled off a good paycheck, and that's why he likes the second one better. I mean, there's no way in hell you can look at Gremlins and Gremlins 2 and say, I prefer Gremlins 2. I mean, it's not a very good movie. It's like it didn't even try. Anyway. My 2 cents.
Okay. Tim?
Yes, sir.
Gremlins 2.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Thank you.
But I don't like it as much as the original Gremlins because it almost lost, like Dave just said, and to take it maybe a little bit further, it almost didn't try. It had no heart to it. It's cool that like a lot of the movie makers, the filmmakers came back for the sequel. I love that, like, you know, Billy was in it again, Phoebe Cates was in it again. Like, I like that, you know, some of the cast returned, but it lost sight of what, you know, made the first one really cool. Like, I didn't want to see a bunch of genetically modified different Gremlins. It didn't need that. It just needed to be Gremlins. And like, I thought it was cool that it was all self-contained in this one, you know, skyscraper in New York. But I don't know, like, there's talk of like a Gremlins 3. I really hope that they go back to their roots and maybe even make it a little scarier, like make the Gremlins a little bit more vicious on top of being mischievous and doing, you know, their goofy stuff, but like vicious. Do you know? Like, yeah. I don't know. Like,
agreed. I think the second one played more for stupid comedy.
Yeah, like, I mean,
like dumb comedy.
Yeah, like, you know, all of a sudden the movie getting cut off and Hulk Hogan's like yelling at the Gremlins. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
Like, though now it's like it's awesome because, you know, Hulk Hogan's in the movie theater watching Gremlins in full Hulk Hogan getup. But you know, like I don't know. It's just it tried too hard in areas that it really shouldn't have went. Like, it didn't need to be a comedy. It needed to be more horror comedy like the original one was, and I just found that this one was goofy, and like I can watch it, but it's not my favorite out of the two.
Okay, so definitely I do prefer the first one. I will say this. However, looking at it from this perspective, this movie came out in 1990. I was 8 years old. When you're 8 years old, think about that for a second. You're 8 years old, you go and watch it. How many movies along this line has your son or daughter at 8 years old watched, and you're sitting there going, man, that's not a very good movie, but they're absolutely loving it and into it? And I just I have a bit of fondness for the movie because of watching it at that age and enjoying the, you know, certain aspects of it, the slapstick and the Hulk Hogan and Christopher Lee's character and just in general everything about the movie. And yes, seeing all the actors return, even Dick Miller, you know, returning to this movie, you know. So I kind of feel the same way. I love the original more, I really do, but the sequel always kind of has a special place to me just because it did kind of do that again, you know, come back and kind of reinvent certain things with it. The one thing that always astounded me, though, I remember seeing a picture not that long ago on set with the special effects crew and all of the actual Gremlins that they had made for the movie. And I had always thought that maybe they only had like a handful and they just kind of done some green screening and put them in. But no, they had made a shit ton of the actual Gremlins for the second movie. And a lot of that was actually due to the bringing on of Rick Baker to help with the special effects. Mm-hmm. The only reason he accepted to do this movie was because they told him that he could basically make a diversity of these characters. They didn't all have to look the same. So he really went all out and said, well, frig it, I'm making them all, and they're all going to be different. And I really liked the added touch of seeing the physical creatures, so many of them. And it wasn't just, okay, take this one and paint its, you know, fur different or dye it differently, and then we'll shoot those scenes with it. It was... There were tons of these things that he made, and it just always blew my mind. So, but no, I like the movie. Yeah, I really do. Like I said, looking at it from a kid's perspective, going back to it, you know, it does kind of stand a little bit in that way. But yeah, that's about it. But I agree. But I agree. If they make a Gremlins 3, they can't really go stupid with it, and they can't go too much farther to the right with this movie, you know, like taking it entirely slapstick instead. They need to go back and they do need to make an ode to the original Gremlins. That's for sure.
And one thing that I'm really hoping that they do with, this Gremlins 3 is that they keep the essence of the original as far as the special effects. So make the Gremlins practical. Make them puppets. Over the last 20, 30 years, there has been major breakthroughs in puppetry and, that kind of thing. So don't go full CG with these Gremlins. Like, obviously, there's going to be some things that these puppets can't do. Make them CG. But, I'm really hoping that they don't go CG because it would be quicker and easier and all that kind of shit. Like, I don't know. That's one of the cool things about the original Gremlins. Like, I think those puppets still stand up to this day.
100%.
For most of the scenes. For most of the scenes. Like, there's a couple scenes where kind of,
No, agreed. The puppets do stand up. The practical effects will always stand up, no matter what it is. And we said this before when we were talking about one of the greatest movies ever made with practical effects, John Carpenter's The Thing. You go back and you watch these movies with the practical effects, and all you can think to yourself is, why the hell are we spending so little money by going the route of CGI when we need to be spending more money doing practical effects? It's just blows my mind. CGI has its place. Computer assistance has its place with effects, but man, there's nothing like a tangible item that's on screen that produces a better result. There's nothing.
I just think that the two mediums need to work together, like, in unison, kind of like, what Guillermo del Toro does with his movies. He does practical effects and then extends it with CG.
It's very true. It's very true.
Like, Pan's Labyrinth with the fawn. Like, that was a guy in a suit, a very talented man in a suit, and then they just got rid of the green legs, and that's what movies need to do more.
Yep.
They need to do it more.
That's exactly.
They're lazy.
They can be.
Well, I shouldn't say that lazy because, doing CG work is very time consuming.
It is very time consuming. But then again, it's stuff that they didn't have to prepare and do on set. They basically finish the filming and then hand it over to somebody.
Yeah.
And then walk away. Go on to the next project, cash another check. Let that one go.
Yeah.
So, I think that's been a pretty good discussion for the night, gentlemen. What do you think?
I guess so. No, I'm kidding.
Just kidding.
I'm kidding.
Shut up, Adam. Shut up, Adam. There's always got to be at least one of those in the show. So, anything else to add to this movie? Any other trivia? Anything else you guys want to say?
This was the first horror movie that I ever saw.
This was the first horror movie that you ever saw?
First ever allowed horror movie that I ever saw. My dad took me to go see it in the theater.
Nice.
In 1984, I would have been 5. So that just tells you how awesome my dad was.
Yes.
Cool.
Abso-freaking-lutely. I love it.
And like, I remember that going into that Christmas, because I think the movie came out in the summer. Going into that Christmas, which doesn't make sense. That should have been released in December, but whatever. I remember having like a gizmo backpack. It was a green backpack with a screen printed gizmo on the back of it, and I had like a Gremlins t-shirt, and I remember having all this Gremlins stuff, and I had a gizmo stuffed animal. When you shook it, he made noise, right? I loved this thing. I took it everywhere, and then my younger brother threw it in a lake, and it sank and died. And I never forgave him for that. And then a couple years ago, NECA released a Gremlin line that had like this mechanical. Gizmo would sing. Yeah. So he bought that for me for Christmas a couple years ago to, I didn't forget I ruined your childhood because I killed your Gizmo, right?
He made amends.
He did.
He made amends. That's nice.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, guys, like I said, next week we're going to be taking a little bit of a break, and we'll come back bigger and better than ever. And we got some things lined up for the new year. Bring in 2017 with quite the growl, and
some balls. Let's bring it in with some balls.
That's gonna be what it is. So from now on, it's gonna be like, welcome to They Cast from the Coast, the horror podcast with balls.
And then Dave can pipe in to the extreme.
To the extreme. And then Tim goes, whoa.
Yeah, that is our opening from here on out.
From here on out, that will be
classic.
At the very least, the next episode, you will hear this.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, guys. So I'd say with that, everybody, say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Stay spooky.
You're stealing it every time. I want to say it. You steal it. You ruin it. You take my moment from me every time.
That's what Adam does. That's what I do.
Get to it. I'm always going to get to it. That's my outro catchphrase. You steal it every time. Every time, Adam.
Next time I won't steal it. There you go.
And I can't even say it now because the piss has been taken out of it.
You took the piss out of it.
The whole vibe, the whole feeling gone. Yeah, everybody, stay spooky, everybody. There you go.
Love it. All right, everybody, have a good night.
Stay spooky, everybody.
See you next time.